Thanks. Am I mic'd? Good? Yeah? Okay. Yeah, we're going to spend about 30 minutes and get some insights from Chris on his role at The Honest Company and some of the strategies that they're pursuing. Why don't we, should we kick off with a video? Do we have the video queued? Let's cue that.
Hi, I'm Jessica Alba, founder and Chief Creative Officer of The Honest Company and Honest Beauty. I founded The Honest Company to ensure that families like mine and yours have the chance to live in healthy environments without exposure to potentially harmful and untested chemicals. Today, Honest is the trusted brand for effective, safe, beautifully designed products priced within reach and created on a foundation of education and transparency. Conscious consumption is no longer the exception in the marketplace. It's the future.
Awesome.
Yeah, I always like to kick these off with Jessica talking because people seem to listen to her a little bit more than me. Yeah, we've done a couple talks together, and I think I could be like buck-ass naked on the stage and no one would even notice. We shot an episode of The Celebrity Apprentice together, and we were sitting there like judging stuff, and they asked me to step back with the crew because they thought I was one of them. So it's kind of nice to be just me today. These guys might look at me.
What does that say about me? What am I, a potted plant?
No, I'm just kidding. They're looking at you in your suit. It's a nice one.
All right, thank you very much. Yoav told me I had to suit up. So why don't we start with a little bit about your background and then a little bit about The Honest Company and the mission.
Yeah, so I've been at The Honest Company almost a year and was at Electronic Arts up here in the Bay Area before that. And about the company, so as Jessica says in the video, we make about 150 different consumer products, from diapers and shampoos and lotions, beauty products, kind of everything you can imagine for your kids and for your family and for your home. And going back, when Jessica was pregnant about 7, 8 years ago with her first daughter, she was in search of, kind of became aware of, harmful chemicals and toxic things and all that, and said, okay, well, at least for baby products, for diapers, for wipes and lotions and shampoos, I want to get safe, non-toxic products. And she looked around, and you really couldn't find any. And the ones you could find were, the diapers looked like brown paper bags, like really ugly, like you wouldn't want to use them. And she's very fashion, style conscious. And so she said, like any celebrity actress would do, I'm going to start my own company. And it started 4 years ago. And that's really what The Honest Company is about. It's at the intersection of high performance products that are safe, and the safety piece is, I think the world's becoming more aware of it, but if you actually look at a lot of the chemicals that are in diapers and other products, everything you use in your home to clean it, laundry detergent, there's not a lot known about a lot of those chemicals, and that there's early research coming out, there's reason to be nervous about what's in there, and so that's really the safe piece, is that we list all the ingredients that are in there, and there are thousands of chemicals that are banned in Europe that are not banned in the US. We follow those standards, pull those out, make sure none of those are in there, just in case any of them are toxic or harmful. So that's kind of the second pillar, high performance, safety, and then the last is design. So if you know our products, especially our diapers, the patterns and the prints on them are really what draw a lot of moms and families in. And really putting those together, and it started 4 years ago and has really struck a chord with millennial moms early on, starting with the baby category and now expanding into home. And then we launched Honest Beauty last fall. So that's kind of the background of the company, and like I said, I've been there about a year.
Mm-hmm. So if you rewind back to that year, what was it about your background that attracted them to you? And then, once you got there and kind of your first 100 days or 120 days, what was sort of the state of the union?
Yeah, I think there were a couple raised eyebrows when I went from marketing video games to marketing tampons. And I know my family kind of wondered what the hell I was doing. Probably still does. But I think the dirty secret at EA was I actually did not and do not play video games. I can say that now that I'm no longer there. And I don't use tampons. So I've got both those things in common. But I think what I loved about EA and what I love about The Honest Company is that the consumers are ridiculously passionate about the products. And that cuts both ways, right? They either love you or they hate you. Gamers are unbelievably passionate about products, about games. But The Honest Company has this cult following. And for those of you who know about it, it just has, just an unbelievable social presence and just really grew by word of mouth and through Jessica, and now it's gotten quite large. And so that's fun in marketing, right? Is to be able to market to a passionate consumer base. I do not want to market anything, whether I use it or not, where consumers are apathetic about it. Mm-hmm. And it's so fun to tap into that passion, and it's very dangerous at times. If you don't produce great products, they're going to tell you about it, but it makes it a lot of fun. I think another thing is The Honest Company was really looking for is to figure out e-com and retail together. So if you think about the way EA did it, it was a retail-first company where all of its products for a long time were sold, at Best Buy and GameStop and Target and Walmart. And then it said, a while back, hey, let's get into e-com and sell these online, right? Margins look better, all that stuff. That's one way to go about it. Honest Company did it the other way. For the first roughly 3 years, it was e-com only. It was a subscription model. It still is. But 12 to 18 months ago, we started going into retail and now have a huge presence at Target and Whole Foods and a lot of retailers across the country and into Canada now. So figuring those two things out together and how you market, because they're very different. If you think about when you only sell at retail, you go typically, historically, have gone very high level brand, trying to generate some emotion focus, whereas e-com companies really get into that clicks and DR. And how do you put those two together so they work together?
Mm-hmm. So when you arrived at the company, you were telling me earlier you're the first CMO there. They had some marketing before, but it was kind of PR-oriented stuff. So when you arrived there, what were the first sort of big rocks or big challenges you identified that you knew you had to move?
Yeah, I think it really didn't have much of a marketing department. It was Jessica's PR, kind of personal PR, and then some acquisition-based DR. So I think really starting to build the infrastructure. And on the PR side, Jessica's amazing. She brings a lot of attention to it. At some point, though, we really want the brand to start to transcend her and to become much bigger because we want this thing to be around for 50 or 100 years to really become one of the big CPG brands in the world. And so starting to build out that infrastructure to make it more of an adult company, because again, when I got there, still only 3 years old at that time. And then starting to build up all of the functions, right? Brand verticals, building up not only PR and social, but CRM, consumer insights, business development, the media team, obviously the paid media team. So many pieces that just have to be built over time to really help the company realize it. It's amazing how big it got so fast, and then you're playing catch up with your infrastructure, trying to make sense of it all.
Okay. So based on that, then what are the kind of the key themes or the priorities that you guys are now executing on?
Yeah, I think a big one is that marriage of e-com and retail. I think The Honest Company started, again, like I said, in e-com, and so it was really just which color of that image gets the most clicks, which email subject line gets the most clicks and conversions. And that's great at first, and when you have lots of word of mouth, you're generating kind of top of the funnel demand, and then you can harvest it at the bottom. At some point, that's going to slow down, though, and you have to go more towards the brand side and start to do some storytelling that brands like an EA historically or some of the big CPG brands are extremely good at. But that's a hard, scary thing to do, right? In DR, $1 today gets me $1.50 tomorrow, and you do that, and when it drops below, you stop spending and make some tweaks and try and get it back up. That's very different than trying to build a company for 100 years where you're storytelling, where you're talking about emotion. I mean, here you're talking to moms about their children, the most precious thing in their lives. You've got to get that emotion out there. And so that's a huge challenge for us, is to figure out how to start more emotional storytelling and to do it in a smart way, because The Honest Company has a huge valuation and it has a lot of sales. It still only has 30% aided awareness in the US, which is an unbelievable. I loved it when I found that out, because that means you got a lot of room to run, and we know when people hear about the message of the products and what it stands for that they really like it. So that's a great thing. But again, just that click-based DR, you're not going to build that awareness. You've got to storytell, and you got to do it in a smart way as opposed to kind of just throwing your money away.
So I would assume one of the things that means is you got to figure out how to balance the short-term interests with the longer-term objectives and investments.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly it. And that sounds simple, but that's so hard for companies to do. I think EA, again, when you start at one side and then you go to the other, they did it in the opposite direction. But again, you have the same friction of, this is the way we've done it before. Now we've got to add this to our arsenal. And it's like developing a new muscle, and that's very difficult in organizations. And so that's a big challenge. But if we want to build the awareness, we want to continue to grow at a high clip, that's what we've got to do. And then obviously the infrastructure, as I was talking about, whether it's teams or whether it's the tech stack, that all has to be built to be able to allow you to do it and to do it in a smart way. And that's not easy.
So how have you organized your team, your department, to go after those things?
Yeah, I think we're taking a structure that's similar to the bigger CPG companies, but trying to do it with different skill sets. So we've divided the company into brand verticals, and these are P&L owners, and you'll have home and baby and personal care and beauty, and they own the P&Ls, and they are marketing people. They also own product, so they determine what products are built. They're not doing the R&D in the labs, but they're listening to the consumer insights and coming up with what products to build next. And this is what's cool about a true CPG company versus like EA, a software company, is that marketing really can control and should control what the product is. That's very difficult in software for a marketing person to control the functionality of the software. But it works here. And so these are the brand verticals that we've built. And when I talked about skill set, the people that lead those, while they're brand people, they are former consultants, investment bankers, private equity people. And it's kind of weird, right? It's a weird skill set. But to me, that hybrid of, call it e-com and retail, call it DR and brand, there's a hybrid somewhere in there where it all doesn't have to be just click-based DR and unemotional, or just these multi-million-dollar TV spots. There's a lot of room in the middle, and I love people that are creative but bring extreme analytics to it, and measurement. And so it's a really unique team that's been built, and I think we'll see how it works, but it's a new model that I haven't seen executed anywhere, where it's a similar structure but different types of skill sets. We then have the horizontals, where we have, I mentioned PR, social, CRM, business development, the paid media team. But again, these are the experts in their functions, and they'll work with the brand vertical owners to execute and to hit their P&L targets. Mm-hmm. So this is a brand new structure that we're maybe 6 months into, but so far so good.
Good. You were mentioning earlier in our previous conversation that you really felt firsthand when you were at EA, the difference between kind of an engineering and product-driven and oriented company versus when the new CEO came in. And it sounds like that's the way that you guys started at The Honest Company, with the consumer first.
Yeah, EA's had a ton of success lately, and I think I give the CEO that came in a few years ago, Andrew Wilson, a ton of credit. He said, we're a consumer-first company. And I think every company out there says that, and I think there's so few that actually are. because you find yourself, you can convince yourself anything's consumer first, but when you actually look at the decisions you're making on the product or the flow on your website or the advertising and how you buy it, you often find yourself making decisions based on what can I measure best? What's the cheapest? What's going to get me the highest margin, right? I see a lot of nodding heads, but it's consumer first. No, it isn't. And that's, there's an example of the Honest Company we were talking about earlier is we launched a product and, it's this beautiful page and consumers love it and it's great. And then you click the button to buy it and up a new tab pops open. And I said, well, why does that tab pop up? That's a really jarring thing for a consumer, especially on a mobile device, on mobile web. And, well, we can measure it easier. And it's just like, that's not good, right? And that's the thing that Andrew at EA really harped on is things that would improve your margins, that would, do things that made a lot of money, but consumers didn't love them. He killed them. And that took a lot of guts and discipline, and I think, that's what the Honest Company, a lot of companies are trying to do now is actually get back to basics with being consumer first and making decisions in that light.
You mentioned the mobile piece, and there's been a little bit of buzz around here that the mobile revenue continues to lag. What's your point of view, and kind of how are you guys addressing the mobile strategy?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a similar answer, actually. It does, right? It does because just like you're consumer first, you got to be mobile first. Why? Because consumers are mobile first. Like, take advertising. A TV is such a better experience to watch a video than your mobile phone. And it is such a better experience to buy a product on like a massive, like Mac monitor versus your phone. But who gives a shit? Because consumers want to do it on their phone. So get over it, right? Yet we continue to make advertising and then we dim the lights in a room, we put it on an 80-inch TV and we blast it and we applaud ourselves, pat ourselves on the back, we made a great ad. Or we go in and while we use our phone on the entire way to work, we get into the office and we work on our desktop and we map out wireframes and build flows for desktop conversion. And then we cram it through mobile, and that's how consumers use it. And so to me, I think that is the fundamental issue of why mobile lags, is because we haven't focused on it enough in the right way, because mobile revenue doesn't lag for Amazon. Right? I think that's where mobile revenue in general is not lagging. It's growing like crazy. I don't know the latest stats, but it's a huge chunk of total online revenue at this point. And I think it's companies that are having trouble making the transition that are lagging in it. Honest Company, like I said, is 4 years old, but it's still, it was desktop at that point. And so now even a 4-year-old company is having to play catch up to try and become mobile first, which is really becoming consumer first, because that's how consumers want to engage with your company and your products. And imagine for a 30-year-old company or a 50-year-old company, how hard that is for a 4-year-old, and we struggle with it too. And because our mobile revenue has been slower to grow than desktop, and we're now starting to shift more and more resources into it. But that's kind of my sense. I don't see it going back anytime soon. So I think we all need to accept it and get over it and fix it.
Brian Quinn, I promise I didn't set him up but based on your breakout messaging. So there you go, substantiation. Well done. Well, you mentioned video. Can you talk maybe a little bit specifically about across the different channels, investments you're making, size of budgets, relative ranges? Where are you guys investing?
Yeah, so I think video at EA for us was so important. Obviously, we had a very visual product, which helped, but we made a massive investment in it that really ramped up. It came on, it was just a very minuscule portion of the budget, single digits, and then all of a sudden, it dominated the budget because it allowed for that storytelling so much better than an image. You get the perfect image on a billboard or in a magazine or whatever, you can convey some great emotion, but even the most basic of videos, you can communicate so much if you can get people to watch it. And then if you can actually get a good video, it's so powerful. And for The Honest Company, it had not been a big part of the playbook until recently. And now, 2016, we're making a huge investment into video, wherever that lives, whether it lives on TV, whether it lives on Facebook or YouTube or programmatic or however we want to put it out there. Because the great thing now is it used to be video meant TV, which meant dumb money, right? You couldn't measure anything. Well, that's still there if you want it, but and TV still has a huge impact on things. But now you can measure, okay, you saw that video, let's show you this one next, and then this one. You can really start to control that emotional consumer journey as opposed to just controlling kind of the click consumer journey. So I think Honest Company has such an emotional thing when you can show babies and you can show moms and you can show like hugging and kissing and all that gooey stuff, right? That's so powerful. And you get people that are in very emotional points of their lives that want that stuff. That's a great connection, as opposed to where we've gotten a little in trouble in the past is, okay, there are 3 pictures of our diapers. Ooh, if we put them on a white background, we get 0.42% versus 0.38. And that's great. You have to do that stuff, and you got to be super smart, but you've also got to continue to like fill the top of the funnel and generate that demand that you can later harvest.
Okay. So it sounds like you've got your plate full with some of the infrastructure build out that you're talking about. I would assume that just keeping your department up with how the company is scaling is probably a little bit of a challenge as you fast forward over the next 12 to 18 months. Do you see some of the key priorities being for you?
Yeah, I think a lot of the things we discussed, really marrying that emotion, storytelling, but also the conversion. Retention is so important for us, right? It is a subscription model, and that has always been the core of our business. And how do you keep your subscribers happy? Because you can start to get into, ooh, I can get their LTV to this if I fire this email at that point. And again, you've just deviated from your consumer first. We're actually all, I have a 2-year-old son, like we're all subscribers of our own products, The Honest Company. And you're on the receiving end. How does it feel? And like always thinking about that and going to every consumer touch point that we have and evaluating it from that stance, that's really a priority for this year. The emotional storytelling, getting into video, revamping everything to be mobile first, and then growing not only our awareness levels in the US and North America, but we're also headed international this year. And just to complicate things even more, in addition to e-com and retail, we've started opening our own retail stores. So our first one is open in LA, and we'll open several more this year. So just another answer.
Yeah, true tradition. Wes, how we doing on time? Do we have time for a few questions, or? Yeah, we're good? Okay. So I think we could open it up for questions, and Chris will be here later tonight. He'll be having a s'more with us later. By the way, Wes, where's our Fireside video? We're supposed to get him warmed up for s'mores for later today. Questions for Chris?
Come on, I used to work with a bunch of you guys. You guys always called me out on stuff.
I was going to say, Johnny Pace, you wouldn't leave your boss hanging, would you? Wherever you are.
He would. Sorry?
How do you deal with channel conflict? Your traditional retailers you're competing with on e-com or now with your own retail?
Yeah, that comes up a lot. I think, because it's funny, we originally talked about other CPG companies as our biggest competitor to our online business. I actually think our products at retail are the biggest competitor, and that's an amazing problem to have, I think. And you just have to, you can't control the value proposition at retail other than lowering price. Yet online, you can. So what that forces us to do is our value proposition could be here online when we were only online. All of a sudden retail came out, and now instead of getting your shipment quickly, you can get it that day. by going to the store. So now online has to step up its value proposition. And so that's a big focus for us, is that you have to stay ahead of that. We're not currently available on Amazon, so you need to come to our site to get it. So it's something we're careful of, but again, like that consumer first mentality is certainly you got to run a profitable business, but if consumers want to go to Target because they may be a subscriber, but they ran out for the month, or they're traveling in another city and they just need one package of them or a package of wipes on the diaper side, we want them to be able to get it and not have to follow our strict rules on how they can get it. So it really is in that consumer mindset.
Chris, question for you. The degree to the success you enjoy at the moment, how much is that celebrity and how much is that the value proposition?
I think most of it's attributable to the new CMO.
Amen.
Yeah, there we go. All right. Hope someone's taping this. I think you can get people aware and maybe make their first purchase because of Jessica's appeal. I don't think you can keep them. And our retention rates are amazing. I didn't even think these existed at this level. And customers that were 4 years into our business have been with us for 4 years. And it's not like 10 customers, it's thousands and thousands. And our retention curves are unbelievably flat. So you have a little bit of churn up front and they stay for a long, long time. So to me, I don't think celebrity is much of it. I think it's value proposition. I think the awareness is Jessica, and I think the retention is the value proposition.
Why won't you sell through Amazon?
I think we want to get our own online value proposition as good as we can. We know Amazon's is extremely good, but there's ways that we can provide more value and, to be honest, more fun in how you select your products, how you learn about them, the education. So it's only a 4-year-old company. We're trying to open kind of one channel at a time. It's certainly Amazon's a great partner for so many companies, and we're very close to them. It's just kind of a sequencing of how we're talking to different channels.
So we're all in the the clients anyway, we're all in the dopamine business, right? And you know that because you were at EA, and games are all about the dopamine. So how do you take the gaming world where the dopamine is really intense and kind of predictable to fire to something that, it's a pretty kind of weak hit to feel like you're buying something good for your family. So I'm not saying that that's bad. I'm saying like your retention rates are great, but how do you not just burn through the goodwill by doing things that are not customer first, but how do you institutionalize finding new ways to build affinity by firing that dopamine?
Yeah, that's a cerebral question.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks. I think, first off, I think there is so much power in the parent-to-child relationship that I think that's kind of firing on all cylinders in that. Now, person to spouse, friends, kind of that level, there's some. And person to themselves, there's virtually none. It's amazing the research that people think about themselves last. It's kind of a cool thing about human nature, actually, that they prioritize other people over themselves. So I think it's a little different. It's much easier to get that affinity at the parent-to-child level, which you can see Honest Company really latched on to that. I've been talking a lot about diapers. It's a core part of our business. The others could continue to expand, but that's a great kind of entry point to the brand. But part of what we'll ride the wave of, and we help fund a lot of research and all kinds of things, but I think we're really in the early stages of learning about what some of these chemicals are doing in these products. There's a lot of bad diseases and bad things that are happening and the causes are not fully known yet. If it continues on the trajectory that it is, I think The Honest Company will be there with options, and I think that will help improve the affinity over time. A key thing to Jessica on the brand is we're not going to be out there as a fear brand telling you, ooh, watch out for this chemical, watch out for that. Ooh, you're using those diapers, you shouldn't be, that's not safe. That's not at all the brand that she wanted, and it's not at all the brand we have. You saw that video, it's all that very happy, uplifting. We just want to provide options and at an affordable price. And if you want to use those, awesome. If you don't, that's great too. We don't want to scare anybody. We just want to continue to make better products that people love.
Maybe one more? Just one question. So you guys obviously got a great online business going, e-com business going. You're in lots of physical locations through Target and your other. What was the motivation behind, okay, now we need a Honest Company store?
I think in the beauty space, again, I'm an expert there. You guys ever wonder why they pick me as the CMO? I do.
For your humility.
Totally.
Kenshoo core value.
Who
You
wouldn't?
kidding me?
Yeah, good answer. I think in the beauty, trial is everything. That, again, if we have a subscription model for beauty, and it's doing very well. But what we see is that people want to try on the products first, and you can also keep the return rates down by doing that. And so we opened that store in September in LA, and so we're 6-7 months in, and it's doing so well. Not only from a revenue standpoint, but actually even selling subscriptions in the stores, which I never thought people would do, but they're not just buying a product, they're buying a recurring subscription in a retail store, which I don't think has been done before. And so now all of a sudden, the economics look a lot better across the board, so that's the rationale.
So the in-store activity ultimately ends up driving the subscription business. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's cool. All right, thanks very much for joining us. Again, Chris will be around later this evening. Brian?